I'm Kristen Oaks-White. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week. My partner Avery Davidson will join us in just a moment. For many of you, if you did not grow up on a farm, 4-H may have been your first encounter with agriculture. Originally called the Corn Club, the Louisiana 4-H program started in Avoyles Parish in 1908. TWILA's Avery Davidson joins us now to show us how 4-H continues to help young people grow. Avery?
Kristen, I am here at Camp Grant Walker. It's an absolutely amazing place in Pollock, Louisiana, where more than 5,000 children from across the state of Louisiana come to spend a week at a special 4-H camp. Now I have this little GoPro on a stick here, so I'm not tied to that camera over there. I can look at this one and kind of give you a little bit of a guided tour. Over that way, they've got the swimming pool, and they'll actually do swimming lessons over there. It's right over there if you can see it. The whole area has cabins and wooded areas and archery range and everything. And then right here behind me is the LSS Martin Pavilion. It is a very important part of the future mission of Camp Grant Walker. It's the first day of a week of fun and learning for young people from across Louisiana. Opened in the 1920s, Camp Grant Walker is a place where these young people can learn and have fun.
It's a very freeing place for kids. You know, they can come here, and even if they don't know anybody, they make fast friends. If they've been coming, you know, for several years, they still have those friendships and then also make new ones. It's a laid-back environment. We put a lot of emphasis on, you know, engaging the campers with fun, and it's just a place for them to just be themselves and be kids.
Christy Bergeron is the camp director. She says the campers here have their choice of educational tracks while they're here. These campers chose the Science, Engineering, and Technology track. The first assignment, make a paper airplane.
And today, we will be flying this baby. Let's do this.
Throw it and see how far it will go.
We want to make sure the kids are engaged and having fun and, you know, engaging not only with the instructors that teach the tracks, but also with other campers. So that social aspect of it's important as well.
Once the airplanes are back on terra firma, it's time to build another flying machine.
How many of you have ever heard of a hoop glider before?
Hoop glider.
A hoop glider.
Pushing that social aspect, this is a group project using straws, tape, index cards, and a lot of teamwork. In fact, this teamwork could not happen here had it not been for teamwork that made construction of the building they're in possible. The LSS Martin Pavilion is the latest addition to this nearly 100-year-old camp. Rosie Bromell was the 4-H Foundation board president when the Roy O. Martin Company donated more than $500,000 to pay for its construction.
And it was supposed to be an open-air pavilion, but with the Roy O. Martin donation, we were able to put in these wonderful clear garage doors that can be raised and lowered. So it can be an open-air pavilion or it can be enclosed like it is today.
Prior to the construction of the LSS Martin Pavilion, there was no single place at Camp Grant Walker where all 500 campers on site could come together, something very important when you consider Louisiana's extreme weather.
There was no place for children to go if it was raining, if it was storming. They had to huddle in cabins or huddle in the building across the way. There was just no place for them when the weather was inclement.
Completed just last year, the 4-H Foundation is already paying for upgrades, according to Executive Director Patrick Tuck.
We've spent about $80,000 this year after the building was completed, putting in bleachers and stage and sound and projection, and we've really made it one of the premier conference spaces that the LSU Ag Center has.
This is not the only place the 4-H Foundation helps these children.
We spend about $50,000 a year through the foundation on educational trips, camps, and conferences, and probably actually much more than that when you combine those three. The state spends well over $200,000 giving these kids opportunities that they otherwise wouldn't have. When you're at Camp Grant Walker, there's a lot of hands-on outdoor wetlands education and environmental education that they couldn't get anywhere else in the state.
That's a lot of money, but fortunately, there are businesses and people who make seven-figure donations.
We recently had we had the historic pledge for Louisiana 4-H in the history of Louisiana 4-H. Honeybreak Lodge, as many people know, pledged $1 million over the next 10 years to support educational trips, camps, and conferences for 4-Hers in Louisiana. That'll generate about $50,000 a year, which is what we currently spend on those programs. I've charged my board to match that pledge over the next 10 years and create an additional $1 million endowed fund that can further offset state expenses. Together, the state and the foundation spend over $250,000 on these kinds of activities for kids, and we all want these activities available forever for these kids. And $2 million in endowed funds would generate $100,000 a year to support any kid who ever wants to go to Grant Walker or any of our other camps or educational trips for a long time, forever.
To recognize those who made all of this possible, these members of the Martin and Kilpatrick families come together to place the first plaque on the wall inside the Ellis S. Martin Pavilion. Honored is Kathy Martin's father, Bobby Lewis Kilpatrick.
My father, who was a dairy specialist with agricultural extension at LSU, and he was highly involved in 4-H, and in fact ran this 4-H camp at Camp Grant Walker for many, many years in the summers, and meant a lot to him. I was able to come to the camp with some of my cousins who were here for the plaque today, and he would be impressed and very, very honored to be part of this.
Whether they know it or not, these young people are now part of a century-old tradition connecting to agriculture, of connecting to each other, and pledging their heads, hearts, hands, and health to something that transcends generations.
A lot of the children who come out here now have the history of parents and grandparents who were 4-Hers. And isn't it wonderful that the program continues? And I'm just proud that as a former president of the 4-H Foundation Board that I had a part in it.
Yeah, none of that happens without you supporting 4-H, either by having your children in 4-H or by making a donation to the 4-H Foundation. It's really easy. We'll put a link on our website at twilatv.org.
Thanks, Avery. You can also go to twilatv.org to learn about 4-H and how to join. Well, the area around Camp Grant Walker is covered in trees, prime land to feed Louisiana's top agricultural industry, timber. This summer, teachers from across the state are taking time to learn about the timber industry to better teach about it in their classrooms. As TWILA's Neil Melanson shows us, forestry experts created a program designed to give teachers a little bit of pampering and a fun way to educate.
And we're going to take about a 7-mile trip down the pass.
It's true what they say. A bad day on the water is better than a good day in the office, and for these Louisiana teachers, it was a great day. They're here as part of an initiative by several organizations, including the Department of Ag and Forestry, in part as a reward for another year of hard work. It's not just a few days in the sun, though. It's also designed to make their lives easier once school gets back in.
We invite them in. We treat them like kings and queens, but more importantly, we show them the background. We show them the behind-the-scenes portion of everything that has to do with forestry. And this year, we've decided to go ahead and incorporate the disciplines of wildlife and also our water disciplines.
The tour certainly got an up-close look at the abundant wildlife. The teachers also got to step off the boat for a bit at the historic Turtle Cove, a mansion built by a former logger. Here, southeastern Louisiana has built a number of boardwalks with signs about the area all around. More telling is some of the remains of the area's past, as well as new growth for the future.
Forestry practices have had such a change over the last 100 to 150 years. You know, whenever forestry first began, as far as what I term forestry, which is the actual replanting of it, that was with Pinchot, and that has a lot to do with the Biltmore area. So if you've ever visited the Biltmore and heard a lot of their history, that's the area that they actually started doing a lot of the replanting of it.
Much like Farm Bureau's Ag in the Classroom program, this teacher workshop is a 4-day effort to try and help them with their lesson plans for the next year. Most of the teachers we talked to said it was a godsend.
It ties in all the major disciplines, so it's already done for us. And it's not that we don't mind sitting down and spending hours doing lesson plans, but this, we don't, it's right there. everything that we need is right there.
I teach some forestry at the school. I do have some forestry teams, even though Lafayette is urban. We still teach the kids forestry and the importance of the forestry, because we teach a carpentry class, we teach them about the wood, and we want to show them where it comes from.
And even though the school year is fast approaching, it's always a good day here at Pass Manchac, where there's a bridge between fun and learning. For This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, I'm Neil Malasa.
Well, their summer retreats look like more fun than my summer vacation. For more information on the program or on Turtle Cove, you can visit our website at twilatv.org. Well, speaking of vacations and Neil Malasa, he's in Cuba this week with a tour sponsored by the LSU Ag Leadership Program. Neil is an alum of Class 12. The group flew into Havana on Sunday to find out Cuba's potential, both as a trading partner and as a possible disruption to ag industries like sugarcane production. The trip is similar to the one Avery went on last year, except this tour headed west of Havana into some of the rural areas to get a first-hand look at how some agriculture is produced. The group got a look at how farm cooperatives work, co-ops that sell things like coffee and tobacco. The mountainous terrain of western Cuba proved to be a great backdrop for the tour. One small example of how Cuba is changing is this orchid garden, which was once a private residence. Now it's part of a university. Orchids have never been available for commercial sale, but the tour guide said that they were growing cultivars for that purpose in the near future. Change is rapidly spreading across Cuba from the rural areas to the cities, so we're keeping a close eye on it. The tour will spend 2 nights in Havana before returning to the U.S. On our next show, Neil will bring back some of the highlights, and if he's smart, he will have brought us back some rum as well. Well, last year, 2 floods devastated Louisiana, causing more than $350 million in damage to agriculture alone. That's why the Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry is beginning the process of distributing nearly $10 million in federal grants to farmers affected. TWILA's Carl Wiggers shows us how you can apply for these much-needed grants.
Flooded soybeans, damaged corn, and wiped out strawberry fields. These are just a few scenes that many farmers across Louisiana faced a year ago. But finally, help is on the way. That's according to Louisiana Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry, Dr. Mike Strain.
We have about $10 million, and we're going to spread that around as best we can. And then again, it is going to be a grant.
It's a grant that many farmers are excited about. That's why these farmers are here at this meeting in Hammond. They are here to ask questions and make sure that they have what it takes to qualify for this federal disaster money.
This grant can be used for eligible expenses if you had a commercial activity of $25,000 or more in 2014, 2015, or 2016, and you sustain more than $10,000 in uninsured losses.
I'm very optimistic on the opportunity to apply for this grant. Looks like it's not very hard to meet the basic requirements.
Eric Morrow is a farmer in Ponchatoula who lost his entire crop to last year's floods. In that loss was 6 acres of strawberries, which is one of the commodities that this disaster grant will cover.
You can use it for replanting the 2017 crop. You can use it for some of the inputs. You can also use it for harvesting. And so the idea is that this helps you with a cash flow so that you can get the next crop in and continue to stay in business.
So far, 2017 has been good to many farmers like Morrow, but it doesn't take much to improve on last year.
17 has been good. We had a good strawberry season last year. We're pushing forward. We're trying to get everything back in order, but when you lose a whole year of a paycheck, it kind of takes a toll on you.
Morrow is not alone. Many farmers were hurt by the flood, but they aren't the only ones feeling the lasting impact. Strain says that this grant money is about helping rural communities to continue to thrive.
The natural resource-based industries are the foundations of the state and national economy. Agriculture is the largest part of that. And it's very important because if the land goes fallow and that commercial activity goes away, the entire community suffers.
From Hammond, Louisiana, I'm Carl Wiggers with This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
Commissioner Strain is among a group pushing hard to get agriculture included into the Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act. Until then, the Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry will be distributing these grants beginning in early 2018. To find out the application and to find out more information about the grant, visit our website at twilatv.org. Well, still to come on TWILA, we go to North Louisiana, where the state's premier winery is teaming up with a land-grant university to grow better grapes. But first, where can you go for a warehouse full of flavor? AJ Sabine will show us in this edition of Feasting on Agriculture. Stay with us.
I now hope they're biting today.
I hope they are. I'll put a Dorito on here.
I got a fish, I got a fish.
Find your place in the country and the lender who can get you there. Find Louisiana Land Bank. Financing for country homes, recreational property, farms and ranches, and agribusiness.
Before you sweeten your morning joe, before the icing on the cake, before the sugar hits the shelf, it begins with a family of sugarcane farmers dedicated to growing Louisiana for more than 220 years. The Sugarcane Growers of Louisiana, making life sweeter, naturally.
Sugarcane, sweet sugarcane.
A chef in Paul Prudhomme's kitchen may have created the dish by accident, but blackened redfish has become a staple of Louisiana cooking. In this edition of Feasting on Agriculture, TWILA's AJ Sabine takes us to Monroe for a taste of Warehouse Number 1.
Feasting on Agriculture with AJ Sabine is brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, Louisiana Crawfish, Ask Before You Eat, by the Louisiana Rice Promotion Board, Think Rice, and by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Beef, it's what's for dinner.
Hey there folks, I'm AJ Sabine and welcome to another tasting edition of Feasting on Agriculture. Well folks, we're here in Monroe and there's only one place you can go for a warehouse full of flavor. That's the Warehouse Number 1 right here on the Ouachita River. Joining us now is Chef Matt Castile of the Warehouse Number 1 in the world famous warehouse building here on the Ouachita River. Chef, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you very much. Now,
Yes,
I am very excited to be here. I have eaten here in the past. The food has always been excellent. But I want you to talk about today the value and importance of getting those local ingredients, such as crawfish, fried green tomatoes, directly from the farmer. How does that impact your restaurant?
We find that customers are asking more and more for local products. And so it's our job to get that to them, and we're happy to do that.
All right, folks, Chef Mac and I are in the kitchen. What are we throwing down?
Okay, this is a redfish Louisiana, our blackened redfish, and it features our crawfish etouffee.
That is a huge, huge piece of redfish.
Yes, it is average 9-ounce piece.
Wow. So customers
this
here
is
at the Warehouse Number 1 get a treat when they get this
They
dish.
absolutely do. We don't want anybody to leave hungry, so that's what we try to do here. So that's it. We're going to let that sit there and cook and get crispy on the outside, nice and blackened. That's how we like it. We're going to do the peppercorn fillet.
Okay.
So we're just going to start with a little bit of salt and pepper.
Now that is a wonderful looking piece of meat.
On the grill. We're going to let that roll.
Chef Paul Prudhomme used to blacken his fish in a cast iron skillet.
That's right.
Here, you're doing it on a flat top. What are some of the advantages of doing that on the flat top?
The same advantages that a skillet would have. It's going to hold heat really well, and it's going to be a consistent heat. So you get all the same advantages from a cast iron skillet you'll get on the flat top.
Now, Chef Mac has just plated up both our redfish and our peppercorn steak. We'll be right back. Stick around. We'll show you how the dishes turn out. All right, folks, we're back with Chef Matt Castile here at the Warehouse Number 1 in Monroe. Chef, tell us about this wonderful redfish featuring Louisiana crawfish.
Well, we start off with our redfish fillet and blacken it, traditional Louisiana preparation, and topped with our Louisiana crawfish etouffee. Pretty simple dish, but it's definitely a favorite and a staple here at the Warehouse.
Now, I know folks here in Monroe that get crawfish just like folks in South Louisiana. How do you feel about the impact that crawfish producers have to make a dish like this with Louisiana crawfish?
Well, people now, really want Louisiana crawfish, and we want to support Louisiana business in any way we can. So That's what we did. This is another signature dish of the warehouse. It is our peppercorn fillet, and it's topped with a burgundy reduction.
Awesome. Yes. Now, as promised, you have a wonderful cocktail that you guys are featuring this summer here at the warehouse. Tell us about that. What is that?
Well, this is the warehouse lemonade, and it's champagne, lemon juice, fresh squeezed lemon juice, and finished with a little bit of cranberry juice. So a little bit different.
Man, that looks really good and refreshing, particularly since summer has just arrived here in North Louisiana. I'm going to dive in on this redfish. Would that be okay?
Sounds good.
This looks amazing. And you know what? I love the smell. The smell is so good. Love the crispy texture of the redfish, balanced by the sweetness of the crawfish. That's excellent. Excellent,
Thank you, sir.
excellent, excellent. If you would please pass me that. Folks at home, don't be jealous. You can get one of these too by coming to the warehouse. Look at that, perfectly medium rare. That reduction, that burgundy reduction is absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Well, folks, that'll do it from here. 2 excellent dishes here at the warehouse number 1 in Monroe. If you guys have questions about Louisiana beef or Louisiana crawfish, you can always log on to our website at twilatv.org. And for more information about Chef Mac, his staff, and the warehouse, you can also turn to twilatv.org. That's all from here, folks. On behalf of Chef Mac Castile, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Feasting on Agriculture with A.J. Sabine was brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board. Louisiana Crawfish, ask before you eat. By the Louisiana Rice Promotion Board, think rice. And by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Beef, it's what's for dinner.
Not far from warehouse number 1 is where you will find Louisiana's premier winery. Landry Vineyards is now partnering with Southern University Land Grant Agricultural Center to grow better grapes. TWILA's Tammy Arender was at the Ouachita Parish Winery when the ag team from Southern came out for a visit.
It's a part of our expanded mission, if you will, or the implementation of our mission in terms of getting to know small farmers, particularly those interested in grapes.
Chancellor Bobby Fields and his team from the Southern University Land Grant Ag and Research Center look out over Landry Vineyards in West Monroe. They're impressed with what they see.
I've been all over the nation and to Italy and many other places, and to drive and see the vineyards here is just as good, if not better, than some of the ones I've seen.
Chancellor Fields helped grow Florida's grape industry from just 3 vineyards to more than 30 over the past 2 decades. He'd like to do the same in Louisiana. Jeff Landry, owner of this vineyard in Ouachita Parish, is thrilled with the prospect.
Southern is doing is starting a program that is going to help in that whole conversation, both practically and scientifically, help us all to work together towards the goal of producing quality wines from grapes grown in Louisiana. We do a full panel on the soil, and every year we pull leaf tissue.
Landry doesn't see more vineyards as competition. He says it's an opportunity to grow the overall winery business. So he's eager to share his knowledge from 17 years in the grape growing business. First in Folsom, Louisiana, then here in Ouachita Parish, post-Hurricane Katrina.
We can't grow the grapes that they grow in California. Those grapes are not suitable for our growing conditions. We'll have excessive disease and fungus if we try to grow those, and a lot of times they'll just die. It's pretty full, right? A little bit of misses right here.
Landry knows what works on Louisiana soil, but he's hoping Southern's viticulturist, Devaya Camberanda, can expand the number of varieties.
And I'm going to share that data with you. If you want to grow those grapes, you're welcome to do that.
Yeah.
Both sides of the vine believe the exchange of expertise and information can be valuable.
Be a lot of continuity between the universities, also a lot of information sharing and working together. We're all striving to grow fungus-resistant, disease-resistant grapes. That's what we're after.
In West Monroe, I'm Tammy Arender for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
Landry says he does buy grapes from California to make some of his wines so that he can keep a wide selection for retail. He says he's most excited about a grape called the Crimson Cabernet that's shown to be disease-resistant in our climate. He says that could end up being one of his best sellers when it's ready to bottle in about 3 years. Well, that does it for this edition of TWILA. Be sure to join us in 2 weeks when we'll have Neil Melanson share his experiences on his latest trip to Cuba. Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For all of us here at TWILA, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.